This is episode 226 of the Fearless Launching Show. Today, I'm going to share a recent conversation I had on my Facebook page. So it is also in Facebook Live form. But this person is someone I hired to help me recently with a sales page, and specifically my sales page copy. She's also been on the podcast before, but let me just tell you, this is one of those topics that people keep coming back with questions about. And it's really just about your messaging, what to share on your sales page, and really so much more. And she's really one of the smartest sales and launch copywriters I know. Her name is Blubaugh, and I can't wait for you to hear our conversation. I'm also going to make sure to link in the show notes so you can just head over to Facebook Live if you'd rather watch this on video. Okay, let's dive in. Hi, I'm Ann Samoylov, and I've helped some of the biggest online entrepreneurs and business owners have successful 6- and 7-figure product launches. By working in the trenches offline to produce movies, TV shows, video games, I've discovered so many different ways to launch creative ideas. And the question is, do you have to copy what your guru says in order to have a successful launch? Do you have to use their done-for-you system in order to have success, in order to achieve your goals in business? I say no. This is the Fearless Launching Show featuring myself and an ongoing cast of characters, friends who join me in discussing business, launching, life, and balancing it all and having an amazing time doing it. Let's get into today's episode. I love chatting with. And I figured, you know what? Let's have someone who I recently have been working with a little bit on my own stuff. And just that she's been in a mentor in my Fearless Launching Lab, just someone that I really enjoy watching in her business. And when she goes off on trips to tropical places, and I'm like, Anyway, so welcome, Christine Blubaugh. Is that how you say your last name?
Yeah, Blubaugh.
Blubaugh.
Some people say bow.
I kind of was like trying to straddle that and go between.
It's all good.
But anyway, so Christine is I'm calling you a sales, and now you're a launch copywriter. Sorry, that's a part of me.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I like that. I have worked on a lot of launches, so I'm happy to hold that title.
That's awesome. And when you came into the lab, you did a whole thing on sales pages. So I figured, that's in the realm, that works. It looks like we do have people popping on right now. So some of you probably even know Christine from the lab. I'm not in Facebook, but I can see some profiles. So I think that they might already be big fans of yours.
Hey, everybody.
So Christine, first of all, just thanks for joining me today. I think that this has been a fresh topic for me, just for a few different reasons. But, copywriting is like that not weird, but it's that thing we all know we need to do if we're running a business or writing words that are on a page and that people are essentially going to listen to, or not listen to, but read. And then perhaps it's going to give them the information they need to then purchase, to become viewers, from viewers to actually customers. So I thought that might be a really great topic for us.
Yeah, totally. I think, like you said, it's one of those things that it's part of every launch, regardless of how you're launching. Some people use it more than others, depending. I know a lot of people, it's possible to launch just using Facebook Live and things like that. But for the most part, you're probably going to be writing some emails. You're probably going to be writing a sales page, probably some kind of landing page for an opt-in, whether that's a webinar or a video series or whatever style of launch you're doing. There's going to be some kind of copy involved. And I feel like copywriting is one of those things that you don't really realize you have to be good at. A lot of times when, people get into online business and then it's like, oh, okay, well, I have to know how to do this because it's such a huge part of every online business.
Well, yeah, and the thing is about just about copy in general. Sometimes you might not even see the copy. You might not see the in the form of text because copywriting happens for things like, videos and even like the content that you might be creating. Let's say on a Facebook Live, there is copy involved in that. And you're right. We're using it in every single type of launch that we're doing, whether we're doing challenges or videos or webinars even, and what's on your slides, like what's on the page. So all of it
Yep.
kind of relates.
So true. So true. Yeah, it's something that I've had my copywriting business. I'm turning 3 this month. And yeah, I know. I've been in online marketing longer than that, but officially had my copywriting business for 3 years. And I sort of got like from the beginning was sort of introduced into launches. Like a more advanced copywriter took me under her wing when I first got started. Was an acquaintance who saw that I was copywriting and was like, "Oh my gosh, like, will you please like collaborate with me on my projects?" And she was writing for some big name people and these like huge, these huge launches. So I got to get inside of those almost from the get-go. And then I worked for a larger business for a year and worked on about like 10 launches for their business. They're at like the $50 million level. And so, yeah, I just got like all of this launch experience under my belt very quickly for different sized businesses and different styles of launches and things. So it's been really interesting and it's exciting. I like helping people bring their offer, to the world.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Now my question is, and I think that whoever's here right now, I kind of know the names, so I feel like I know a little bit of intel about these folks. That's how I am, guys. So if I know your name for some reason, it's like because I know stuff about you. But I think that struggling with the sales page, your emails, whatever copy you have to create for whatever reason, I think it's super common for people to struggle with it. I've worked on a fair number of launches as well, and even people you think that might not struggle with it, there's always something unique about each person, like where they struggle. Like they might struggle getting started. They might struggle revising and seeing things clearly. They might struggle just like, I don't know, just not knowing what changes to make. And I'm just curious, like if you've seen, like what are some of the big challenges that you've seen people face, like, or share with you, or you're like, oh, that's what they're dealing with?
Yeah, it kind of depends. It kind of depends on like what level people are at or how experienced they are.
Yeah.
Obviously people who are more beginner tend to kind of struggle across the board with like, what do I even say? How do I say it? When do I say it?
When do I get started
Um,
even saying it before I
yeah,
say it?
yes. So that's definitely like not giving, actually I see this across of all levels, is not giving people not giving themselves enough time for their launch. Even bigger names, successful, multi 6-figure level people sometimes will come and be like, oh, I'm like behind where I was supposed to be, or, I have this launch coming up and I haven't even done any like pre-launch stuff. And so I think that is a big issue. Like give yourself more time than you think you need. Because especially if you are doing a lot of things on your own, like if you don't have a team or you're not contracting things out, it takes time to fit all the pieces together.
I'll tell you guys, and I'll tell you guys that my experience is that, and I feel like this is just a bad habit that I've had the entire time I've had a business. Like, no matter what, it's been my challenge, is that I find I like and I don't say this very easily because I usually don't like, well, I do this really well. But I feel pretty connected when I'm like writing my copy and I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. I've always been like that in terms of writing. And I very rarely let people even look at it. I'm like, it's like something in me is like, I know this is solid or whatever. I don't know what. So anyways, what ends up happening as a result of that is that I lose sight of maybe things that could be changed. And then I ask for help after the page is designed, after it's all set up. And Christine, you know this because I recently came to you because I was like, I finally had time to take a breath. The sales page was available, it was up, but I was like, okay, I know it can be better. And, I've been trying to identify places like that a lot more. So I reached out to Christine, I already knew Christine. I was like, Christine, do you do this? Do you look at someone's stuff and then, give them feedback? And you did. But what I discovered, obviously, was that, oh, wow, this changes my design. So then we're going to have to go back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this is again like why you have to give yourself time, because you most of the time will think like, oh well, I just need to tweak X, Y, or Z, but it's probably going to affect something else like at some point in your launch plan. So that's why like giving yourself months to plan a launch is so important. The other thing is that I see a lot, and that makes people, I think this is why you hear the stories of launches like making people crazy, or people losing sleep, and like it just being an awful experience, is
themselves in the hospital.
Yeah, people launching without a plan and just sort of like winging it and trying to get people into a program during a specific allotted amount of time, which usually isn't enough time. Because then it's just like it feels completely overwhelming, and you're not clear about anything. You don't know if what you're doing is working because you don't have things set up to track stuff. And it's just too big of a thing to wing. So like save yourself some grief and always have a plan of what's happening when.
Yeah, I totally feel you. I mean, I feel like that is common when it comes to even launching, but I also know that like certain things, you weigh, what's going to get done and what's going to get priority. And like, you're like, how important is it to hit that date? And so certain things just fall by the wayside in some ways. And it's crazy to me now how often I let the sales page be that thing. And because emails don't freak me out. It's that long. It's like I get lost in the sales page, but that's my challenge. But you know what? Before I forget, guys, if you want to share this, feel free to share this anywhere. I mean, this is on the page. We'll keep this replay up so that if you want to come back and watch it, you can. And I've shared it into like a couple of the groups. So if you're watching inside a group right now, make sure to let us know so that we can acknowledge you. And BeLive has a little bit of a challenge showing if it's on different pages. So if you guys are on those places, maybe come over to my page so that you can like actually comment and we'll see it. It can't really bring all of the little different feeds together. So definitely do that. And if you have questions as we're going along, of course, just ask them. It's okay to interrupt. This is not like a podcast episode where we're going to be necessarily, just talking and ignoring you guys. So make sure that you do that. Okay. All right. So I want to ask you then, so we talked about some of the why it can be challenging. What do we do? What do you think people should do for that? Okay.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. Can you ask that again? I was looking at comments.
Yeah, no, they're real. I mean, oh yeah, I see you. So what do you think people should do first? In terms of like, if there's something that they should do first, is this, I mean, if they're getting challenged by all this stuff, I mean, I guess give yourself more time.
Yeah.
But like, how early in the process should we really be considering our copy? And I'm focused on the sales page right now because tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at this as the kind of this is where everything starts, whether it's your email, your social media. This is like the
Yeah.
core message.
Yeah, totally. So in terms of like copy, the first thing, like if I'm working on someone's launch, the first thing I'm going to write is the sales page because everything does come back to there. It's sort of like the hub. It's the main message. It sort of
Mhm.
encapsulates everything about your offer, your ideal client, your story. All the messages that you're sharing in your launch are kind of housed there. Um, Before you even write that sales page, if you're launching something new, I highly recommend doing some kind of beta. Get some people through the program, whether, and you know, depending on the size of your audience, you might have a better time like just doing some outreach to get some people in as opposed to trying to like launch your beta. But get some people through the program, and so you can find out like what's motivating them to buy, what are they getting out of it, what, you know, what's the transformation, because a lot of times what we think is really attractive to people or what we think is going to happen for them in our offer is not actually what they value or what happens. Yeah, sometimes we're like
What
we're
you think's
wrong.
going to happen does not happen.
We're like people get results that we weren't even expecting, you know?
Yeah.
So get some people through your offer and then get data from them, like
Yeah.
interview them, survey them, ask them lots of questions, and then use that material to start writing copy for like the sales page. And then from there, you know, depending on what type of launch you're doing, you know, you're going to have like maybe some pre-launch emails or some piece of content that's going to be more like your top of funnel, like a whatever, like if you're doing a webinar or something that people have to opt in for. So you're going to have like landing page, and then you're going to have your sales emails, which are, you know, once the cart is officially open. And then depending on how big your launch is and how advanced you want to be, you know, you might have some other sequences for, you know, people who've abandoned the cart or, you know, like a sort of a downsell for people who didn't buy or whatever it is, if you're going to links like that. But always create things in advance. I would recommend sort of batching. So like if you have like a pre-launch sequence, sit down and write that whole thing so that it's not just like a piecemeal. If you're going to have like, if you have a webinar and you have like a few emails that trying to get people to come to the webinar live, sit down and write those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because otherwise you're going to be like trying to piece things together, trying to do things on the fly, and it just makes the whole situation way more hectic.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like, I think it's been proven that, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it just it makes sense. You're in a launch, you're already stressed out about all the things. Creating under that stress is really difficult. Executing, checking off a box, hitting go, those things are easy, but creating and kind of using that more visionary, like that, I don't know, it's like a more creative side of your brain. It's a lot more easy if you do that in advance. I'm just not a fan of writing the night before closing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Plus, during your launch, you're going to want to be available to be going live, to be answering questions, to be like delivering content, to be doing all of the things that only you can do. And that, you know, plus like depending on your business model, you may have like other clients who you're still serving during your launch and things like that.
Yeah.
So like the last thing you want to be doing is trying to write an email sequence that converts people to buy your product when you're feeling stressed out or, you know, in the middle of your launch. And I see how it is with my clients, like pre-launch, we're all like loosey goosey, everything's cool. And then like the second launch, like the launch is going into like full effect, like the entire energy changes.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lot more, just a little more intense because there's a lot going on. Um, so yeah, so keep that in mind.
Yes.
Especially if you're a launch newbie, it's always more stressful, I think, when you're kind of in it for the like first couple times. And then, also like if you are far enough along to where it makes sense to invest in a copywriter, consider that for a couple of reasons. One, the time that frees up for you is, I mean, if you calculated like your hourly rate times the amount of time you save, it's a lot more than you're probably going to invest. And the other thing is like when you hire someone who's experienced with launch copy, like you're not just investing in someone writing words for you, you're getting all of the experience that person has and all of the launches that they've been a part of, all of the training that they've done. Like that's what, like for me, like I've spent the last 3 years, like all I do is write copy and study copywriting. And so like when you invest in that, you get all of that knowledge and experience into your launch. So,
You're building
to consider.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like the other thing too, I think that's important to remember is you're building an asset, something that belongs then. Just like when you if you create a course or a product or something, that doesn't just go away and just get recreated every single time necessarily.
Exactly.
When you have a starting point, it's a lot easier. It's like that upfront first investment to really get your messaging right. And sure, if the details change as you go along, which they will over time, I think that it is always a good idea to think about that. Like, am I willing to invest in this right now? And you know what? It doesn't guarantee, just because you work with a copywriter, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to have like this massive blockbuster launch, but it sure is. It's always, I feel like, a good idea if you can take something out of your head, let someone who's more of an expert handle that for you. I really do,
Yeah, like you said, there are no guarantees because copy doesn't exist in a vacuum. Like there's all these other things like the size of the audience that's going to be exposed to the launch, like the offer and whether it's aligned for the audience. Like there's a lot of other things. But if you have done a beta and you know that like the offer is resonating with your people and getting them results, that goes a long way. And so that's another sort of tip on getting like a good ROI from your copywriter is having that sort of pre-launch experience and sort of proof that what you're launching is like relevant for your audience, something that they want, and something that gets them results.
Yeah. One other thing that I'm curious about, if you've worked with people, I also know that the more stuff you're doing in the beginning, like the pre-launch material, all of the value-based content that you're sharing, doing Facebook Lives like this, like I'm not leading up to a launch here. I really just wanted to come on and talk to you guys. But say I was leading up to a launch, I'm going to start putting out consistent, valuable content. And if you have a copywriter or if you have someone helping you with that piece, you can kind of engineer an entire experience that starts weeks before they even see your, I keep seeing things pop in and out, that they can witness, experience, and see long before they even need to read your sales page.
Yeah. And like, I mean, that's something, if you can get people wanting what you sell before it's even available, then it's like once it becomes available, you're golden. I think that's sort of that's going back to what we were talking about, like about mistakes people make and things that can kind of like put a damper on your launch is like not doing that pre-launch stuff, like not getting people warmed up. Again, it depends on the size of your audience. If you have an existing audience, then like it's easier. If you're building your audience while you launch, then you have to do a lot more work up front to get people into your audience and then going sort of into the funnel of like, okay, like leading up to when your cart opens. but like it's essential. Like you gotta like get people excited about the thing that you are going to be offering them, even
Yeah.
if it's just, like the topic, and then like, letting people know that something is coming that's going to help them with the problem they have around this topic. And, it's kind of like, leaving the little candy trail for people so that
Well,
they
you know
can.
what is funny? What's really interesting is that something as simple as I'm launching something soon is something that most people like think isn't effective. But I've watched
It
people
totally
inside
is.
Fearless Launching who, as soon as they started telling people they had something for sale, people were buying their things. It's funny how
Mm-hmm.
that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, think about like anyone that you follow. If they say, "Ooh, something really exciting is coming," or like I'm working on something new and it's going to be coming soon, like even just a little Facebook post teaser or something like that, I know I get sucked in. I'm like, "Ooh, I wonder what it is." Like I can't
Yeah,
wait until like they share it.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So like think about how you react to the people who you follow when they do things in their business, because the people who follow you are going to react the same way.
Yeah, I mean, so I wanted to ask you something. I mean, this is something specifically related to when you went through one of my sales pages. And
Hmm.
okay, there actually were two things that I
Okay.
found fascinating. One, you highlighted to me that right away, like, first of all, I have a ton of case studies, frequently asked questions, all this for this one product, okay? Just because I've been doing it for so many years. So of course I have like a whole bunch, but I wasn't putting them up on the page. They weren't very big physically. And I was like, leaving really powerful ones for like the bottom of the page.
Way down. Yeah.
Why was I doing that? But like that was one thing. And then my own social proof when it was my section to be like, hey, I'm Ann Samoyla, boom, boom, whatever. I wasn't even like tooting my horn there.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah.
Is that
So
common?
it's very common. It's very common. And I think like,
Am I weird? I'm kidding.
no, no,
You're like,
well,
yes,
I
you
don't, I
are,
mean,
but
maybe, but not for that reason. um, so yeah. So I think like, the way that we have to write things like sales pages, it has evolved, over time since, over the last like even 5 years. Nowadays, it's like we really need to hit people with the best stuff like right away, because we're fatigued by all the things online. Even if you're like selling to like consumers and not other businesses, people are just like overwhelmed with all the things. So it's like you have to give them a reason right away to be like, to pay attention.
you're like,
Um,
okay, I should listen. I should
yeah,
like at least scroll down this page.
yeah, because like on your page, like what you mentioned with the testimonials, like you had these incredible testimonials, like literally at the bottom of the page. And it's like, okay, why are you going to make people scroll all the way to the end before they can see that like so and so tripled their like income, or so and so had like a 10K launch? Like put that stuff at the top. So then people are like, oh, okay. Immediately they see that this program is getting people like amazing results. So then they're like, okay, I'll stick around. And then
I'll
they
at
keep
least
reading.
read a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. They're intrigued at that point. Like, oh, okay, well, and can this work for me? And then the other thing, what you were saying about your section, this is really common, especially amongst women, is feeling like a little bit icky, like bragging about ourselves or standing in our authority, even though it's not weird or gross or wrong. Like I
But it
was
was
saying to
so
you
hard.
in like I was saying to you in the video that I made for you, like you have to show your badassery, because
Exactly.
you have been doing this for so long, and you have like gotten people such incredible results, and you have worked with like really big names. Like that didn't come across. And so like if you got it, flaunt it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had to step back from myself and pretend I was writing it about someone else I was bragging about, because
mhm,
then it didn't feel so bad, you know? Then I was like,
mhm.
okay, fine. I'll put
Yeah,
this in here.
everybody should push their edge a little bit on what they share about themselves. It should
Yeah.
feel a little bit uncomfortable because
Yeah.
the reality is, otherwise, like people need to know that you're good at what you do. And if you are good at what you do, there's no shame in saying that.
Yeah. And if clearly you are working with various people in the industry that they're going to go, oh, I know that person,
Mhm.
that also builds up that trust factor. Like, okay, this person is it, I know that they're actually getting paid to do this by someone else. So clearly they are, they're not just somebody, somebody,
Some rando. Yeah.
some
Um,
rando.
yeah, I mean, building trust is just like more and more important all the
Yeah.
time, and it's harder and harder to do because of all the noise and all the horror stories and things. Like, because unfortunately, there are people on the internet who want to just rip other people off or not be in integrity with the promises that they make, whether it's intentional or they just can't live up to what they said they were going to do. Um, but if you're someone who is in integrity and who does really help people, then it's really important to share that and show that, because people need to know. People need to have a reason to trust people at this point.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, there's one thing about the bragging about yourself. I don't know if you can see our comments in here, but Michelle brought up a really good point. Like, I mean, actually, I'm putting the question in your mouth, Michelle, because you're not asking this really, but I'm curious, Christine, what would you say in terms of like bragging about yourself when you're first starting? Is it about your story, your credentials? Why? Like, how do you bring that out? Obviously, when you've worked with people that you can share their names, but how do
Yeah,
I guess doing
yeah,
the beta is
totally.
the way to do that, right?
The beta, exactly. I was just going to say that, like doing a beta, even if you're not like doing a big like traditional launch, even if you're
Mhm.
just like selling your one-on-one services or whatever, like get some people in. If you're just starting out, maybe you do a couple coaching sessions for free. Maybe you do some like discounted work or whatever so that you can get people through your program, get testimonials, get comfortable with what it is that you do. Yeah, and like I mean, there are ways like you could be creative. Like you could reach out to someone who is a little bit influential and offer to do like some work for them for like a discounted rate or something like that, and get a testimonial. There's a lot of things you can do. You can join someone's program. Like you could join Anne's Fearless Launching program and become like the star student and get her attention, and she might say something nice about you if you ask her.
Which I always say nice things about my fearless launchers because it's like it takes so much to launch. But you know what? I actually think that's a really good point that you bring up. There's a lot of different ways to get feedback, and like that social proof is what you want. And I think that there is a little bit of, oh, we should give our stuff away for free. But I think if we look at it like we're just giving it to someone and we're not getting anything back, yeah, that feels bad. But if there's an exchange of value and that value is just not in the money currency, then I think
Mhm.
you can say, look, I would love it if you would go through this. You can totally do it. Have your team play with it. You can play with it. And when you're finished, I would love to interview you so that I can find out what your feedback is, because that's value back to you.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's why betas, like the first beta that I did of another program, that's why that core group was actually free. There were 15 or 14 people that I brought in that I had them apply. They did a video, they did all these things because I knew that I was going to be able to keep giving them value, and they were going to give me the feedback. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I mean, you don't have to do stuff for free. I brought that up because I know sometimes when people are like brand new,
yeah.
I talk to a lot of people who struggle like asking for money or whatever. So if that's you, then maybe you can do something for free. If you're like, heck no, I'm charging something, good,
Sure.
awesome. Like, yeah, totally. whatever is going to get you taking action and moving forward is
Yeah.
really the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Michelle said she's doing a free class for this. So
Okay,
I'm
cool.
assuming about this topic, and it really, I think even doing free classes is a great thing to do. I also think that if you don't want to like do any kind of free or discounted work, you can also, and this is what I did at the very beginning of Fearless Launching, I would reach out to people that were downloading my main lead magnet because I purposely made it so it's a workbook, and I wanted to know, is this helping you? Is this actually giving you results? So that's a way to have people work with you without you feeling like you're like, dropping your value or something like that.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of ways that people interact with you. There's a lot of ways that you can give value and get feedback from people on that value that you're giving.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
yeah.
So, we talked about like basically working with someone, like working with a copywriter, working with someone who can help with that messaging and the sales page and all those pieces. But what if someone isn't really quite ready to hire someone? I mean, what is their like what would be your advice to someone who's not quite ready to hire you or hire another copywriter?
Yeah, I think that like if you're not ready to hire a team at all, then think about like maybe keeping your launch simpler. Like, because the people who are doing like giant launches with affiliates and like video series and all this stuff, like they have an army of people working on their stuff. So like don't look at James Wedmore and be like, I'm going to do a launch just like his without hiring team, because he has like a crap load of people working. So like consider like the complexity of your launch. Simpler is going to be better. Don't skip the beta. And then like think of it like this. You have like a warm up period, which is like your pre-launch. This is where you're just like talking to people about the topic of the thing that you're launching, getting them interested, letting them know like why this is such an important thing for them to like reach their goals. Then you're going to have like sort of like the thing that kicks off your launch. So it might be a Facebook Live, it might be a webinar, it might be a free challenge or something like that. Keep it simple. Have that, and then you're going to basically open the cart for your offer. You're going to pitch your offer, and then you're going to have an email sequence and maybe some lives or whatever following that, inviting people into your offer, inviting people to buy. It doesn't have to be super complex. Like focus on where your ideal client is now, where they want to be, the things that they've tried that haven't worked, and why your offer is the thing that will help them.
Yeah.
Those are like the main, from a copywriting perspective, like those are the main things. So how your offer is going to help them. This is like where you're talking about the benefits, the transformation that your offer is going to provide for them. Why you're the person who they can trust to deliver that and help them. This is where like your testimonials from your beta and things come in. And that's really it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, we really sometimes make it more difficult than it needs to be. And, I always do encourage people who are like, well, I like that know that general process you just laid out, which, you could probably look up, like, I feel like there's like a Fearless Launching process blog post that pretty much said that, what you just said. And that's like the basics. So once you get yourself through it, then you can go back to learning different things along the path to improve.
Yeah.
But, in terms of like, even like what you said, like webinar, let's say, oh, well, we don't want to do a webinar. That's too complex. Just do Facebook Lives.
Yeah.
You really have so many choices, I feel like, at your disposal right now, like that you can just jump on. And sometimes like like these are, and I don't know if you have any, but like, do you actually, I'll ask you and then I'll share like a few of mine. Do you
Okay.
have any like little like ways of like testing ideas or offer like copy just to see how it resonates with people? Because I'm wondering, because I'll tell you what mine is. And I learned this from like a coach of mine.
Hmm.
And it's really just doing social media posts, like, you know, the long posts that you see over on Instagram. I'm doing those because those are important messages, things that I want to write to the audience, but it actually helps me see how exactly what I'm saying, if it gets comments, engagement, if people reach out to me and say, dang, how did you know this? Or whatever, you know, it really gives them like, it's like an easy thing that I'll do.
Yeah. And that is a really good way to sort of like test your messaging on social media because it has such a short lifespan. And a lot of different people see it. So you kind of see like who is attracted to certain messages. I mean, you can try the same thing even with your email list. So I
Oh
was
yeah.
working with a client recently on her launch, and we sent out these pre-launch emails, the first couple emails, and it was something different that she hadn't done before. Like she got like really personal in them, and people, there was such a strong response that we sort of tweaked what we were going to do then moving forward, because like she wasn't expecting people to react so strongly to these emails that we sent out in the pre-launch. Um, so that like everything in your business is an experiment. So like don't get too stuck on like, oh, I have to do like this specific way. Um, like try different things in sort of all across all of your platforms and see what people are resonating with.
Yeah.
Even having conversations with people, you can kind of see what's resonating for them. So
Well, that's another one too that is that I think that people sometimes push to the side because it is hard in some ways to identify those people, reach out to them. Each
mhm,
kind of step kind of has its own, I don't know, potential stress, like reaching out to someone, then scheduling time with them, and then actually having a conversation where you're not selling, you're just
mhm,
understanding what they're challenged with and getting that language back from them,
mhm.
you know.
I mean, it's a process, but I feel like it's
So
so
worth it.
worthwhile. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's so worth it because if you take that little bit of time that it takes to set that up and go through that process, like it can clarify your message so much and help you have better launches, make more money. Like it's just worth it. I feel like it's something that just should be done like sort of on an ongoing basis.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
also, if you sell on sales calls, like if you do sales calls and you don't just guide people to a page, that's a great opportunity to find out what people are struggling with, what they
Mhm.
want, what they've tried. Like you're asking those questions anyway. So take notes of all that stuff
Yeah.
because if that person is your ideal client, that's like amazing information that you're getting just on your sales calls.
Yeah, I mean, and sales calls, you know, some people, this is just a side note about those. Some people, when they're doing launches, let's say for the first time, like an online launch, I've seen there's like this resistance to go, like, it's like they're going backwards, like to have a sales call with people. And I just feel like that's missing an opportunity. I feel like so many people who you would not think do this get on the phone with people. They actually do, and you do, and that's how sometimes people need that sales conversation. So don't push that aside as the way that you're gonna, you know.
Agreed. I mean, and it depends. Like, if you're launching a 197 product, like you might not want to be doing sales calls with everyone, but people don't need as much. They don't need as much to make that buying decision for a $200 thing as if they were buying like a 997 or a 1997
I
thing.
mean,
So,
yeah, I mean, I know from experience too, Christine, that some people will read read a sales page and then like I still have a question, and you don't have to necessarily get on with them. I think that the personal interaction can happen any number of ways. You know, it could happen just by replying to people.
mhm.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other.
Yeah, totally.
So,
Agreed.
So I know we could keep going, but I wanted to let you guys know I'm going to put in the comments after we finish here. I did do an interview with you, Christine, on the podcast. So I will just put that in there because we go into more of this on the podcast. And yeah, so I mean, do you guys have any questions? Those of you who are still here about sales, copywriting, launch copywriting, any copywriting writing questions, definitely here for you. And if you're watching the replay, definitely still put those in. If you come back and watch it again, just pop those in there, tag me or Christine so that we can see that and we'll make sure we answer your questions.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna wait because there's always a nice little
There's a delay.
there's a nice little, I was gonna say a lag. It's a lag.
Same thing.
I know, but it's such a negative word. I feel like today I'm like negative. I'm trying not to be negative Nelly today, but it's Mercury and retrograde and things are just off the rails for me.
The dark cloud is hanging over you.
I know, like it's like this dark cloud I'm trying to dodge all day. Okay, guys. Well, I'm gonna close us up for today. I want to thank you for joining me for this first Facebook Live. I know that over the weeks is going to get a little bit smoother, and I'm just so grateful that you guys all came and you showed up. You said hello. And if you have any questions, I really do hope that you'll leave those in the comments below or reach out to Christine. Christine, how can we connect with you? Do you want to, you can type in probably your.
Yeah. I'll type in my website and then.
And Christine actually.
In all the places there.
I'm going to tell you about two Facebook groups. One is Christine's. Christine can, I'll put the link in the comments if it's too hard to kind of type in on your phone. And then if you guys aren't already a member of the Launch Lounge with me, you can join that. I'm sure there's a link somewhere on the page, or I will just post it in here. And that's it, really. Oh, cool. Oh. Any suggestions of how to boost yourself to talk about your product in a confident way? Marianne is asking.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're talking about what you do or your offer, make sure it's in a confident way. People will be as excited about what you're selling as you are. So always show up in a way that is like confident and powerful, like I know this works. And that comes with experience. Like once you like we were talking about with a beta, getting people through your offer, seeing how it impacts them, really going the extra mile for your clients and helping them achieve a result. That will build your confidence. The more you just practice talking about what you do, that will build your confidence. I think the thing that people wait until they have confidence before they talk about their offer or before they launch something. And that's like backwards, because confidence is not just going to land in your lap. It's something you have to cultivate by taking action and doing the thing. It's going to feel uncomfortable maybe at first, like you might stumble, you might make mistakes. Nobody's really paying attention, so don't worry about it. And then over time, it's like you'll start to build that up. So just practice.
Yeah. And Marianne, the only other thing that I would say is just to add on to that sometimes just being excited is a great way to just lift your energy up. Like just to be like, it gets you in that mode. Excitement can equal confidence to the outside viewer. And I've watched a lot of people like in different businesses do this where they're just so excited. And that actually comes across to me as confidence, even if they're not necessarily confident. You know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Marianne says, maybe I just need to practice. Yeah, I mean, that really is. And it may always feel a little bit weird to like talk about yourself and talk about your stuff and whatever. And that's okay. The important thing is to keep in mind is like which is more important to you, helping people and like having your business do well, or focusing on the weird feeling that it gives you. So you get to choose which of those you put priority on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very awkward, Marianne.
Yeah.
I'm very awkward.
I am very awkward.
If anybody even says something nice to me, I'm like, I can't even handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of awkward people doing really well in their businesses. It's just like
Thanks a
roll
lot.
with it.
You're like, hey, you said it, I didn't, girl.
I'm awkward too, so don't
Yeah.
I'm talking about myself as much as anyone.
Yeah. So yeah, and you know what? Just don't let that awkwardness and that fear of sounding bizarre or weird stop you. Just take the action and just be like, okay, got this going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to kind of get over yourself.
Yeah, and the perception that you have of yourself is not the perception that other people have of you. I promise you that. Because people say things about me and I'm like, really? That's not how I feel about myself at all. Every time people say compliment me or say something nice, I'm like, oh, it's like a surprise because I'm like, I thought I was terrible, or
yeah, isn't
whatever.
That funny when you do that?
Yeah.
Well, that is another good conversation to have.
Right.
For sure. Okay, guys, so thanks for joining us. I'm going to put Christine's links below, but it looks like she's put a few of hers as well, her Facebook group and her website. And I'm going to put our link to the interview that I did on the Fearless Launching Show. But thank you guys for joining us. And
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll be here next week again. And if you want notification of that, just, I don't know, if you don't like the page yet, like it. And then I think you can there's even a link somewhere to get reminders. So do that as well. I'll try to guide you as much as I can. And have a great rest of your week. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's interview with Christine Blubaugh. You can grab all of the links mentioned today, as well as different ways that you can work with Christine, resources, etc., along with the video version of our conversation over at annesamorelove.com/226, because it's episode 226. Also, if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure you check out our launch masterclass to help you with the rest of the launch process. All you have to do is choose the best time for you, watch it Netflix style over at annesamorelove.com/masterclass. Thanks so much for listening to today's show, and I will catch you next Thursday for another episode and fun, action-packed interview on the Fearless Launching Show. Thank you guys so much. I so appreciate it, and I appreciate just being able to speak to you guys every single week. Love you lots. Take care. Bye-bye.